I never win anything.
these drawings, you know, like this, and so I'll sit down and spend a lot of time drawing, and these eventually become the paintings. These can become the paintings, or they just end up being drawings and it's another exercise. But I've probably filled up 30 or 40 of these over the years, and I have them in the studio. So a lot of times I'll just go out there, what do you want to paint? And I'll just start going through the books and finding things that, oh, I've forgotten all about that. You know, 'cause a lot of times I'll draw at night, and then in the morning, it's just, like I say, I forget about it until one day I sit in the book and I go, oh yeah, I don't remember, geez, I don't even remember painting that or drawing that. And eventually, even things like this, that you can, just with all the little people going to church and stuff.
Did you just use pencil?
Yeah, this is, I use a mechanical drawing pencil that with real soft lead so that I can get real good darks. And then you can basically, you end up with these nice 3-value sketches that you can just, using thumbnails or rough drawings like that, start to put together a painting and see if it works. Do little color sketches, things that are not big, just they can, just 3x5 type things, and that's enough. Here's some more of those. Basically, thumbnail sketches, plan the painting, boom, and then go on to the painting. So take a little time to think about it before you start, or you can do what I do and just kind of wing it. Now this particular drawing, I started looking for something to do, and one of my teachers had done a painting one time. It was called 7 Barrels. So I have 3 barrels here, but he had 7 barrels, and they were in front of a completely different painting. But it was enough to give me an idea, and then I says, well, I just decided this group, I liked this particular group of houses the way that they were. And I put one here and another one there to kind of balance it off, and a couple of people with their dog. So that's going to be, it feels like it's going to be a winter painting, just from, I don't know why, but that's the sensation that I get.
So you don't pre-wet the paper down, it looks like?
Just this, I start with just wetting the sky. Once the sky is wet, normally I would use a just clear water, but I put that on just so you can see it going on, because the sky is going to be some type of gray or it'll be something else. It's always fun to find out what it's going to do. Yeah, I'm sitting here mixing this and just going, man, what's going to happen? You just never know.
Do you stretch your paper at all, or you just?
No, not these. No, I don't.
Is it because it's, did you say it was 500 on the pound?
No, this particular one is 140, but normally for a painting this size, I would probably use 300.
Wow. Arches, it's arches
Yes.
again?
Yeah.
What's that, 16 by 20 or something? Or
It's a half sheet. Would be whatever, a half sheet, 22 by,
oh,
yeah.
well, anyway, look, it's about 16 by 20, it looks like. Is that ultramarine or something?
There's ultramarine, cerulean, sepia, a little brown.
So you
little
mix your
red.
browns in with your blues, huh,
Sometimes.
to cool down.
Like I say, I'm never sure what I'm going to do. I just
Nice.
move along and
And you always paint with the paper vertical like
no,
that?
I
Oh.
would normally be at an angle probably 15 degrees
Yeah, that's,
is usually
That's what I usually
much
do
better
too.
to paint. But this is so that people can see in the back.
Oh,
and
oh, nice, good idea.
Otherwise, it would be very difficult to do a demo that way.
Yes, yeah.
And normally, I don't paint on the side of the painting. I would be painting this way.
Oh, right, yeah.
He's so kind to his audience.
Yes.
Well, it's kind of you to show up. See, I demo all the time, but I do it at home and nobody's there. Some people say, wow, how do you get up in front of people? Well, I've been a musician for a long time as well, and so everything is a show.
Yeah.
Once you're on, you're on.
No hesitation on his part.
No, if I fail, I'm going to fail big. It's-
Were you this fast and loose as a teenager?
No. No, I was the exact opposite. I was the most cautious person in the world. Yeah. So I got drafted in, wow, that was so long, 1969. And I got that notice. It says, yeah, the president requests the pleasure of your company. And I joined the Air Force, and in their infinite wisdom, they decided the place I should be stationed is Las Vegas, Nevada. So my life went from real slow to like, wow, this is pretty quick. When I started studying with Jack Flynn, my friend David Matthews and David would pick me up on a Sunday morning, probably 6 o'clock. We'd leave from Hildreth Street in Lowell, and we'd head to Worthington, which is out in the Pittsfield area. We'd drive 3 hours, take a 3-hour lesson, and some mornings, that drive going to Worthington, we had people that wanted to drive on our side of the road coming at us. We had some kind of adventures. It was truly brilliant. But getting to study with Jack, I think the lessons were probably $10, and he gave us unlimited. I ended up giving us paintings and stuff in return for just showing up. But the one thing he did require, he would give you homework, and whether it was to do drawings or whatever, something that he wanted you to practice for the week and bring it back and show me that you're still, because he was very generous with his time.
What was the name again?
The painter's name was Jack Flynn, and Jack was originally from the Pittsfield area. He was born in Pittsfield. He died in Virginia Beach, Virginia, and he was really the single painter. He was my watercolor instructor more than any other painter. I studied with Carlton, took workshops with Carlton and stuff, but Jack, I spent a lot of time with him because I'd known him from the day I was born. I have a card that Jack actually gave to my parents. It's in the book When You're Born, all the cards from all the relatives and stuff, and there was one there from Jack, and so he was truly a brilliant painter. And he made it look easy. He sat at the kitchen table one day and he knocked out that first watercolor, and I went, that's not that hard.
don't do watercolors, but I wanted to start doing some watercolors, and I know you have to consider like leaving some white. And
It's a great advantage. When I do an oil painting, the first thing I do is cover the whole canvas with a color because I can't stand the white. In watercolors, it's a great benefit just to have the white there, just because you can leave clouds and things, and you're not leaving the total white unless it's like this. The snow is going to be pretty white, but you could still cover that. You could put water or something on it, and even if you just put something, it would give you some variation. It would just lighten it somewhat, and so you can have little or none. It's just it becomes a matter of preference at some point, or you just, if you're copying something, that's a totally different thing, because then you're painting what's in front of you. When I'm doing these, they're usually, I can do whatever I want because I have no restrictions. I left myself wide open to just paint how I feel. Pine tree. Just think pine tree.
That's all it takes.
Basically, great thing about painting, there are people that will paint photographically, leave nothing to the imagination because it's all there, it's as tight as can be. Other people that like things fairly loose because they want you to do some of the work. They want the viewer to be engaged with the artwork, to do some of the heavy lifting as well. And you don't have to paint everything. A lot of times, putting the suggestion of a thing is enough. This is my favorite brush. That's why I always, it's actually too early to be painting with this, but I like it so much that
What's it, a number 4?
this is a number 6. And
number
it's
6?
almost like a rigger. It's got real long hair.
Yeah. Don, you almost always have houses or buildings in your paintings, is that correct?
A
It
lot,
seems to be.
yes. There are times when I paint nothing, no buildings, but the majority of the time, there's some kind of barn or buildings.
Really?
I like shacks, and it was that red barn that I would see, like I say, at 60 miles an hour on the road. And it would just, something about the New England barns.
And the buildings, you have about, what, 4 little buildings here at least, right?
Yeah, there's
Right.
actually these 3 and these 2, so 5.
Oh, 5.
Usually an odd number. If I put something in, I have 2 people walking with the dog, so it makes it
3.
either little
Like a-
triangles, a group's triangle.
So is that-
One, and then,
Yeah.
so,
So it's good to have an odd number, as you're saying,
Usually.
as far as you know.
yeah.
Rather
And
than
as soon
just,
as I say that, I'll put 2
Yeah.
fence posts,
No, no.
it's- Like I said, nothing is absolute.
yeah, just general rules, right? Yeah, same thing.
Barns are an endangered species.
That's one of the reasons that I've tried to paint the New England scenes. I wanted to save the relics that are still there.
I think you once told me that, like, some people want to find all the covered bridges, you want to find all the falling down barns.
Yeah, I want to get all the bonds before they're gone.
Well, maybe I'll start painting them too, Don.
Yeah.
Buildings and
This-
barns and everything.
There's a lot of them. Yes. They are now. Unless I paint over them, and then they'll just be gone.
Do you have any favorite artists, Don, like Van Gogh or Hopper or Wyeth or anybody? I don't know.
Yeah. Wyeth was definitely one of my
Andrew,
favorites,
right?
yeah. I had the great pleasure of meeting him in Maine.
Really?
We had gone to one of his exhibits, and they had brought Christina's World back to Maine for the first time in 30 or 40 years. And,
Wow.
He was there, and I got the chance to shake his hand and just tell him how much I loved his work. And I've met his son Jamie a
Jamie,
number
yeah.
of times.
Who's a great artist as well, as you know.
And so one of the times I met him, we were at the Museum of Fine Arts, and we'd been invited to a play that they were going to do about him. It was called Nureev's Eyes. And they had the actors come in, and Jamie was in the audience. So he spent the day at the museum, and you could walk right up to him and ask him whatever you wanted to ask. And
Wow.
one of the things, I had been watching him paint in watercolor, and they had this film. And I noticed that when he was painting, the brush went to his mouth. And I said, "Do you have special watercolors?" And he goes, "Oh, no." He says, "You were watching the film, right?" And I said, "Yeah." He says, "Nah, that's going to kill me someday."
Oh my God.
He said he's so into it when he's doing it, he doesn't even realize that that's probably happening. It was just,
Wow. But they really painted detailed paintings, didn't they?
oh yeah.
All 3 of the Wyeths, really. The grandfather, father, son.
They were all, every one of them can draw.
Amazingly,
Yeah.
right? Oh my
Their
God.
drawing skills are phenomenal.
Did you ever meet Hopper?
No, that would have been a treat.
Yeah.
I do own a drawing by Hopper's teacher. I have a Robert Henright drawing that I
Oh.
bought in Boston years and years ago.
Wow, an original. That's amazing.
He was
He was
always,
a great painter too, right?
yeah, The Art
and
Spirit
teacher.
is one of the books that every teacher just about would recommend to a student. You want to have one book, that's one of the ones that you want to read.
Wow.
What's the name of that again, please?
The Art Spirit by Robert Henright.
Did you meet any other famous artists along the way? I mean, international or
I studied with Murray Wentworth. Murray ended up being a full academician in the National Academy of Design. And one of the great things, I have paintings by all the artists I ever studied with, and I loved collecting paintings. And people say, well, you paint. I says, yeah, but I don't paint like them, and I love their work. And so I started buying them when I was fairly young. I went to Boston, and I went to the English gallery, because I love English watercolor painting. And the English watercolorists are truly, if you look at any of Turner's work, or
Turner's,
Constable, or any of the Cox.
Is that still there?
No, that's gone now. But William Ash and his wife Marilyn used to own that, and I think they lived in Peterborough at one time. But I think William went back to England, and I don't know if they still have the gallery. But I ended up buying paintings by an artist by the name of David Green, and David just passed away a couple of years ago.
Oh,
And I have, he was a member of the Royal Institute of Oil Painters, and he was a wonderful watercolorist.
and you have one of his watercolors or
Yes,
something?
and one day I'm walking in an antique store and I found one of his oil paintings.
Wow.
And
Did any of your collection,
I won't tell you what I paid for it, it's real.
did any of your collection become a huge, great investment for you?
They're
Not
all
that-
good. There's a lot of them are worth,
Many
You know, yeah.
thousands? Or something?
the Antiques Roadshow moment is the Hollis Flea Market. I was there on a Sunday afternoon, and I could see a painting in the distance, and it's pretty big because I can see it from where I'm standing, and I'm probably 50 yards away from it. And the closer I get, the better that painting looks.
Yeah.
So I get right up to it. It's 30 by 40 in a beautiful frame. And I said to the guy, it's time. They're getting ready to close. Everybody's packing up. And I says, how much do you want for that? He says 50. I says, I'll give you 40. And he says, sold. Because he doesn't want to take it home. So
Wow.
the painter's name is John Swan. And John studied at the University of New Hampshire and he's a sporting artist, and his paintings sell for as much as in the $20,000 range. A watercolor of his this size is probably $5,000.
Wow.
Not in a frame, just this way. So he's a really good painter. So that painting that I bought, I asked one of his dealers out of Boston
Yeah.
one day what the painting was worth, and he said that's $10,000.
Nice.
So
that was a good investment.
Yeah, every now and then you just get lucky.
Wow.
So does your wife make you do all the shopping now?
Yeah, not all the shopping. Yeah, we've been married for 46 years.
Glad you got that right.
Yeah, even I get lucky. It's as easy to be happy as it is to be sad.
So you might as well be happy, right, Don? Is that the rest of it?
That's it.
Well, he has a great driver also, right?
Yeah, I was going to say. He doesn't even have to drive.
People ask me, why did you never get your license? I says, listen, I've been chauffeured my whole life. You think I want to drive now? You're crazy. It's like, I enjoy not having to worry about that, and it's not that much fun driving. So I said,
Wow.
the only thing I ever drove was motorboats. I love motorboats. I hate cars.
Wow. So different than me, I guess.
Exactly.
I have 2 cars, 1 motorcycle.
And I think my brother was a year younger than I was. And he drove the day he turned 16 because he loved cars.
Your brother, you
Yeah.
said, yeah?
My brother Brian.
Is he a painter too?
He was actually probably the most promising artist in the family. He could draw from when he was young. He was very gifted. He had natural ability. My dad didn't really have to teach him anything. He knew how to draw. He could make really nice drawings when he was a kid. And he would win all the prizes in school for art and that kind of stuff.
Nice.
I couldn't draw a straight line.
Wow.
The one thing I had over him was I had the desire to really want to become a painter. And
he
in
never
the end,
did?
desire wins
Oh,
out.
yes. Your brother never did, it sounds like.
No.
Become a painter,
No, no.
artist.
And my youngest brother, he worked at Wang at one time. And to my brother Gary, computers were the most natural thing because he was born at the exact moment that the computers were just becoming popular, and it seemed to fit his personality. He could take a computer, he'll draw an F-14 and have everything on it because he can use the CAD that's on the computer, and so he loved to draw. And then one day I went to his house and I says, "Hey, I saw a painting. Who did that?" He says, "I did that."
Oh.
And I went, "Yeah, just because you felt like it?" And it was like, yeah, basically. So when my father passed away, I gave him my dad's palette because
Oh,
he
nice.
has the exact same palette that I have, and
Oh,
I
nice.
gave him some of his watercolors. And I says, "Well, when you retire, you might want to take that up."
Yeah, definitely. He hasn't retired yet, it sounds like.
No, not yet. He's the executive vice president of an insurance company up in Vermont, so
Oh,
he's
nice.
still.
Doing
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
Buying your
yeah.
paintings, I hope.
He actually owns quite a few of them.
Okay.
John, you said your dad was your first teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Was it a hobby for him, or was he able to do it?
He was a commercial artist, professional
was.
commercial artist. He and Jack Flynn, that's how I got to know
Yes,
Jack.
yeah.
They both studied at UTerra in Boston, and basically my dad ended up working for Faneuf Press for a long time. He made all the plates that the printers would actually use. He would shoot them, he would do all their illustration work, and so he always basically worked in that. And then one day he started teaching at the boat, and he taught printing for a while, and then he taught commercial art. And when he started teaching commercial art, he did watercolor demonstrations for them and made videos and all that type of stuff. And so he painted for years.
What's that press? Fan of press?
Yeah, Faneuf Press.
Did you ever have a desire to teach?
Basically, I like to paint, so what I do, people say, "Will you teach?" And I said, "No, but you want to paint with me, just come and paint with me." It's like, I just don't want to have to be there on Tuesday at 9 o'clock.
Oh, yeah.
I just have this thing about that, but if you want to paint with me, just call me up sometime and come and paint.
So your pencil underpainting, it doesn't smudge it all down at all?
No,
No, really?
not a problem.
And you usually always put a underpainting a pencil of some sort? When you have your
Usually
buildings anyway?
Exactly,
Oh.
just so, because
Yeah, you
I've
got
done
this.
it without them.
Oh.
I've started, because one of the things Carlton could do, he would probably make one line because he wanted the horizon, and he would make that line and maybe a couple of other little lines, and then all of a sudden he would just start carving those rocks out. And it was like he was a sculptor. He would be sitting there and just working at that. Carlton made some of the most beautiful walls in New England, rock walls, and he was really
You mean
proud
from
of
real
it.
rocks? He would,
Oh, yeah,
the heavy?
the real thing, yeah.
I didn't know he did that.
Yeah, up in Booth Bay where he lived, he was so proud of the wall that he had built up there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is an art, though, to bake stone walls.
Don, you won't do portraits or stuff like that?
Not as a rule. I've done a few, but it's not something that I enjoy doing. Doing them, really, for me, it's like, that's a job. When I paint landscapes, I'm very happy doing this, and this doesn't feel like work at all.
Yeah, nice.
But a portrait, because especially if somebody is paying you to do their portraits. I've done a couple. My friend was a professional hockey player, and I painted him and gave him a painting one time when he was playing for, he used to be with the Minnesota Wild and had been traded, but he originally came up with the Los Angeles Kings.
Oh,
And I would go see him in Boston, and I remember the owner of the team that he was playing, the current team he was playing for at that time, he says, are you the guy that did the painting? And I says, yes, I am. He says, well, he's in the locker room now showing everybody.
the painting.
So,
Oh,
you seem to have made a big hit with them.
nice. But you just did that on your own, not commissioned, right?
Right,
Is
yeah,
that
I
what you're saying?
just did it as a gift to
And
him.
gave it to him, wow.
Yeah. He's very kind. He'd get me tickets to the games. And
Oh,
so
nice.
I could go to Boston and sit in the dressing room with the players and talk, and
Are you a big hockey fan? Is that-
love hockey.
Oh. Wow. Those are mountains that you're doing now with the blue?
Yeah, just the background.
Background, nice.
Yeah, I know it's very hard to see.
Don, what kind of paints do you use?
These Da Vinci watercolors, normally when I first started, Jack would go to New York and buy all our supplies. In New York, you could buy boxes of Winsor Newton paint back then for under $10, and so we would
Wow.
we had a lot of paint. We would just get as much paint as you want.
Nice.
Paper and everything was a lot less expensive.
You know, the paper really went up. It's like $6 for a sheet, like that or something.
Oh, yeah.
What's the closest thing to arches?
Fabiano's?
Fabriano, I like Fabriano as well.
Your hands are so steady, huh, Don? Which is nice. Mine aren't always.
The reason I paint with the back of the brush, it's a lot easier to control than
Oh,
if you try to do this all the time.
yeah. Those, yeah, you get nice straight lines there when you want them. Wow. So you get quite a variety of trees done with the pines, the oaks with no leaves, whatever. Nice. ochre's a yellow ochre and
It's just, yeah,
burnt
really,
sienna or
really
something?
just,
All kinds of earth tones
yeah, just knocked down with a lot of water,
with water?
a lot of water.
So you like to do that rather than lay out a whole thing of like green lawn or something, or it's so much more
Sometimes,
interesting
yeah.
that way, right?
They say sometimes you try it, and if it works, great. If it
Yeah.
doesn't, well, start again.
But it looks like it's working great here to me.
Just trying to think of what might work for this group. Sometimes creating the house colors is the worst part of it.
I know what you mean. It's hard.
See what this looks like. Cool. What I'm gonna do is, once this dries, I'll come back and put the shadow side in.
I see, yeah.
Because basically, the sun is coming from this side. That's a good thing to remember when you're painting. Where is the light coming from? So if the light's coming from here, the shadows have to correspond. If the light's coming from this side, then you'd have shadows going that way. Almost forgot about the people.
One demonstrator used to put a little cutout like sun in the corner of the painting, like that, yeah. So
Yeah,
he'd remember where it was.
yeah. In my case, it'll be here.
Yeah, this one.
Don, is that grass, I mean, what's in the front that you have, that's?
Just that shrubby kind of stuff that you
Shrubby thing.
see.
I guess you could always have a little water there too.
I don't want the water near the house. Yeah,
A
if
little
it,
stream. Water hazard.
There's no snow there, right, Don? In this part there?
yeah, no.
Oh, there
That's
is a
just-
little snow? Oh,
just-
no.
The shrubbery, and it's that kind of dark yellowish grass that you see in the
Oh, it's
fields, in open fields
in my
and
yard
stuff.
too, quite a bit.
Yeah.
Hey,
Little fence there.
Basic, yeah.
Shadow there. So you like to have people in your paintings quite often? then?
Sometimes, not a lot,
Okay.
but on occasion, every now and then.
I think it does add more interest sometimes, don't you think? I mean, or an animal or something.
Barrels.
What are those done? Is that a gravestones? Or no?
Just little barrels.
Little what? Oh,
Barrels.
oh, barrels. Oh. You don't see that too often in
Like I say,
landscapes.
when I was looking for something to paint today,
Oh,
I came across one of Jack's paintings, and it was, he had 7 barrels, 3 here, 4 there, in the backlit in the painting, in a winter painting, and it was in a show that we had gone to at the De Cordova,
oh.
and it's one of the paintings I always liked.
That's the focal point, the barrels?
In his painting, yes,
And his,
yeah.
I mean, wow.
Yeah, because they were right here in the front, so
Yeah.
I just decided to throw a couple in there.
In memory of Jack,
Yes,
maybe.
yes, exactly. It's good to, when you're painting, to make it a little darker than you really think it should be, because this paper, not as much as the 300-pound paper, will absorb a lot of water, so you need more pigment than you may normally think you should use.
Sure
Shrubbery.
that's not magic paper? You just put water on your brush and then all of a sudden
it's, like I say, if you do it for 40 years, one day you wake up and you pretty much know what, I know all my tricks, and so it's basically the same every day when you wake up and you just, well, what are we going to paint today? The only thing that changes is the design of a painting, but the basic how to put the paint on, and once you can do the flat wash, a graded wash, after that it's just a matter of deciding what you want to paint. What do you want to say about a subject? With me, it's always been the New England scene is the thing that I wanted to preserve because I love those old barns, and my dad used to live next to a dairy farmer up in Vermont, and he lived there for 10 years. And in those 10 years, when we would go up and visit, I would spend a lot of time painting. And I could paint, I'd take my oil paints right out in the street and paint because you'd see one car the whole day. It was a great place, and there was one barn after another, so you just move down a couple of 100 feet and it's like another barn, and
Wow.
that was a great place to paint. And I still have all the photographs from when I used to go there to paint.
Nice, nice.
Ooh, put ornaments on, no. Don't let that go out. That's good. It's a little strange painting from the side. I think that's all the trouble I can get into for now.